Medal of Honor was originally released in 1999 and was created by DreamWorks Interactive and produced by Steven Spielberg. The game broke ground with its historical realism, narrative depth, and technical innovations by setting a high standard for authenticity and immersion in a historical war setting. Medal of Honor inspired the creation of countless modern FPS games and redefined expectations for both gameplay mechanics and storytelling. Medal of Honor paved the way for most modern FPS games by introducing cinematic storytelling, prioritizing realism, and enhancing the overall gaming experience with groundbreaking, for the time, gameplay mechanics. Medal of Honor was a passion project that emerged during Spielberg's work on Saving Private Ryan, which should have won Best Picture, by the way. With development beginning in November of '97, Spielberg held a meeting with his staff outlining his idea for a first-person shooter set during World War II. The idea originated from Spielberg's obvious interest in World War II, while also watching his son Max playing GoldenEye 007. Shout out Max. At the time of development, studio execs believed gamers wanted ray guns and lasers and, in general, more fictional stories than something that was set during World War II. So, many in the film and games industry thought Medal of Honor was exploitative and irresponsible just because they hadn't seen anything like that before. But Spielberg soldiered on with development, believing the team had honorable intentions and the will to create a story and a game that does the subject matter of World War II justice. Medal of Honor was one of the first FPS games to place a significant emphasis on cinematic storytelling, changing how narrative was integrated into gameplay. Inspired by Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, the game was designed to provide players with an immersive and emotionally impactful experience. It achieved this by introducing players to a fictionalized but deeply rooted historical narrative, casting them as Lieutenant Jimmy Patterson, an Allied soldier on covert missions behind enemy lines during World War II. So instead of the straightforward series of missions, Medal of Honor was kind of structured like a film. It had these cutscenes and mission briefings and character development. It definitely allowed players to connect with the protagonist and the storyline in a new way. This emphasis on cinematic narrative helped raise the bar for storytelling in FPS games, showing developers that players could be both emotionally engaged and entertained. The influence of Medal of Honor is especially evident in franchises like, obviously, Call of Duty, Battlefield, maybe old Battlefield, which have adopted narrative-driven campaigns that allow players to experience the weight of war and the personalities behind the missions. A defining characteristic of Medal of Honor was its commitment to realism and historical accuracy, which was kind of a rarity in first-person shooters at the time. Prior FPS titles often focused on futuristic or fictional settings and tended to prioritize fast-paced action over historical authenticity. On the contrary, Medal of Honor based its mission, weapons, and environments on real locations, events, and equipment used during World War II, which made it a groundbreaking experience in terms of historical immersion. Use of historically accurate firearms, uniforms, and sound effects created a sense of authenticity that transported players to a true-to-life 1940s battlefield. This attention to historical detail provided a new way for players to learn about history, blending education with entertainment in a novel new way. This focus on realism not only influenced, subsequent Medal of Honor titles, but also set a template for future FPS games like Brothers in Arms and Call of Duty, which further refined the formula of these historically accurate, realistic war games. These games embrace the concept of using the FPS format to kind of create historical conflicts, giving players the chance to experience and empathize with the challenges soldiers faced in battle. Modern FPS titles, even those not set in a historical context, continue to prioritize detailed environments, realistic weaponry, sound design, and they owe a lot of that development to Medal of Honor. Another pioneering aspect of Medal of Honor was its approach to gameplay mechanics. which brought a new level of depth and realism to FPS games. Medal of Honor encouraged players to approach combat with a sense of strategy and caution, taking advantage of cover and planning their attacks rather than relying solely on run and gun tactics. This focus on realism and combat set it apart from more arcade first-person shooters such as Doom and Quake, which relied more on reflexes than strategy. The tactical style of gameplay in Medal of Honor influenced future games to develop mechanics that emphasized a little more planning and realism, such as like cover mechanics. Now, I'm not saying, Gears of War level cover mechanics. I'm talking, you can stand behind a box and your legs won't get shot, cover mechanics. So, you take what you can get. The game had a good mix of action and semi-stealth and strategic combat and maneuvering. It was pretty different for its time.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The immersive design extended beyond mechanics. Medal of Honor also created a powerful atmosphere through its detailed visual and audio design. From the sounds of bullets whizzing by to the dramatic orchestral score, the game used its audio elements to create an immersive and cinematic experience. This attention to atmosphere and sound has had a lasting influence on FPS games, with many modern titles incorporating realistic soundscapes and dynamic music to enhance immersion. I'm thinking BioShock right off the top of my head. And a specific shout out to the music and the score, which was, I might get his name messed up. It was composed by Michael Giacchino. I'll put his name up there. I'm sure I messed it up. But yeah, the score is top notch. This dude knows his stuff. He ended up doing Call of Duty and, Pixar movies like Up. So guy is a master at his craft. The influence of Medal of Honor on the FPS genre is perhaps most visible in the popularity and design of franchises like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Brothers in Arms, and all of these borrowed elements from Medal of Honor. And not just like specifically war games, but like I said, BioShock, even Halo. In addition to war-based FPS games, Medal of Honor's influence has reached other FPS games. The success of the series highlighted the potential for first-person shooter games to offer not just entertainment, but also a powerful storytelling medium, encouraging developers to continue refining and expanding on these elements in modern games. IGN ranked Medal of Honor as the 20th best shooter of all time, crediting it with popularizing the trend of World War II shooters, which is crazy to me. There was actually a time when World War II shooters was not really even a thing. So yeah, thanks Medal of Honor. Several members of the game's team recall that the game was one of the first marriages between game and film, showing that video games could tackle serious topics like World War II with reverence and gravitas. In the final issue of the official UK PlayStation magazine, the game was chosen as the 8th best game of all time. IGN ranked the game number 21 on their top 25 games of the PlayStation console. Yeah, so, Medal of Honor holds some weight, and we kind of forgotten about it, basically. Medal of Honor left an indelible mark on the FPS genre, shaping it in ways that are still visible today, prioritizing cinematic storytelling, historical authenticity, and innovative gameplay mechanics. The game redefined what players could expect from a first-person shooter. This legacy has inspired generations of first-person shooter games to not only entertain, but also to educate.
Keep your mind. Keep thinking. Keep studying. Safe.
And immerse players in very richly detailed worlds, whether it's historical or fictional. As a pioneer in the genre, Medal of Honor paved the way for modern FPS games to embrace depth, realism, and powerful storytelling, setting a high standard that continues to influence the video games industry. right, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you liked the video. Let me know some memories of yours when it comes to this game. Like for me personally, I grew up, since I can remember, I've been a history buff, and specifically just a war, like a historical war buff. And my dad had all these VHS tapes of the Vietnam War, and I would just watch those over and over and over. And Medal of Honor was one of the first times I got my hands on something that wasn't the Vietnam War. It was World War II, and that set me down the whole World War II path. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. It was so cool to be in the game and kind of living this historical event. And yeah, it was really cool. Anyways, thank you for watching, and God bless.